And especially the workload as well is another thing that I find is quite similar from country to country. Though of course there are other countries that their work-life balance is much better than we have here in the UK. But then there are also some people that are struggling with their work-life balance because they feel overwhelmed with the amount of administration tasks that they have to do aside from their teaching. So yeah, there are things that I found similar from country to country when I've been speaking to other teachers and being involved in those Facebook groups online.
Yeah. I noticed that like in different countries, even in different, states here in the United States, like there's such a difference in pay disparity. Is that an issue as well in London, where in England, where some parts of the country, maybe the teachers are paid better, other parts they're not, and that can create imbalance and, inequity? Everyone, we are super excited to have Tem Ezimokhai from the country of England on the My K-12 Career Show. I am super excited about this. Tem has been a teacher for 14 plus years. She also has her own membership site where she helps teachers with teaching tips. It's actually called Tem's Teaching Tips. It's a membership site. And she also has her own podcast where she just really helps teachers thrive. And the name of that podcast is Helping Teachers Thrive. So we are very grateful that Tem took the time out of her busy schedule to come on the My K-12 Career Show. So Tem, thank you for coming on the show. What's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So today, my career at the minute, I actually work in a special educational needs school.
Wow.
And I've been there now for a year and a half. So I was previously a PE teacher for 13 years. So yeah, currently I work as a special educational needs class teacher, teaching students ranging from ages 11 to 14 with different varying needs in terms of their special needs and medical needs. And as you mentioned, in my life so far, I'm actually running my podcast, Helping Teachers Thrive, on a weekly basis, where I provide episodes on a weekly basis to help teachers build their confidence, develop skills, and thrive in the teaching profession so that we can retain more teachers and don't lose them from our teacher profession. So that's what my focus is at the minute, currently in my life.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, I know that in the United States, once the pandemic was over, they had what was called the Great Resignation, where a lot of people were leaving the profession, and that was in the United States. But it sounds like y'all were having some of the same issues over there as well.
Yes, we were. I think teaching in the pandemic was probably some of the hardest times of my teaching career. It was quite difficult with remote learning, meetings remotely, as well as trying to homeschool a 4 or 5-year-old at the time. So I think teachers did find it quite difficult, and a lot of people did start thinking about potential careers that they could go into that were less intense, I suppose, and less overwhelming for individuals at that time. So it was quite difficult, but we got through it, and it did make the teaching profession a much better place, to be fair, because now we have blended learning and we have remote teaching through Google Meet. So it has actually enhanced our education.
I totally agree with you. I always feel like, there's actually, the Chinese symbol for crisis is danger on one side and opportunity on the other. So yeah, it was a crisis for sure. And yes, there was definitely danger, and people lost their lives and people got sick. But like you said, on the flip side of that, there was opportunity to kind of reimagine and reinvent, K-12 education, and, bring some of this 21st century technology that we have into the classroom. And I think it has been beneficial. And I hope that we continue on that path, obviously, so yeah, that's right. So is that when you started, your podcast was during the pandemic or right after the pandemic?
No, I started my podcast a bit late. I started it back in April 2022.
Oh, wow.
So it was a little bit later. Yeah. I didn't really have the time to start my podcast in the pandemic because it was quite full on at that time. But I think as a result of leaving my previous school and then starting in a special educational needs school, I got a bit more of my time back. So I sort of thought, well, how can I use that time productively? And I thought, well, I'd like to help teachers. I like mentoring teachers anyway. So I thought that'd be a great step to try and help teachers globally in the teacher profession.
That's awesome. So again, you took that was my next question. Are you only helping teachers in London? But you've already said it. You do global support for teachers all over the world. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I would I'd love to try and help as many teachers as possible globally to improve their confidence, develop their skills, help them thrive in the profession, and help them keep that passion alive and love teaching as a lifelong profession.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, before I became an administrator, I was actually, we have that in common. I was actually a special education teacher myself for 12 years. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. Like, I feel like, those are our students that are most vulnerable, and we have to provide the supports that those students need so that they can thrive in the least restrictive environment, right? And so, yeah, that's really good that you're doing that. And that's very noble of you to do that, because special ed students just have a special place in my heart, even though, I'm an administrator over an entire school. I know that those students need the most support. So I have a very special place in my heart, not only for the students, but also for the teachers that actually teach our special needs students. So you say that you have this site and you're helping teachers globally. Like, what are some tips that you give teachers so that they can be successful in the classroom? And do you focus on teachers that are new to the profession or teachers across the spectrum?
Well, originally I focused on teachers who are new to the profession. However, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for teachers, and I've noticed a lot of teachers struggling out there, whether they've just started out or they've been teaching for a number of years and they're finding things difficult because our class sizes have increased, for example, and behavior issues are starting to get worse and sort of in lessons as a result of these class sizes. So my focus really is helping as many as I can, whether they've just started out in the profession or they've been teaching for a number of years. And I've done a lot of episodes on behavior management and classroom management in terms of rules and routines and high expectations, and how we can help those high attained students to help them progress and challenge them further in lessons, but also how we can support our students that may be struggling in lessons and need that adaptive teaching, that scaffolding to help them be able to access the content in lessons and help them also thrive so they're not left behind. I've done a few episodes on special education needs. I'm still learning myself as special education needs teacher because I've only been in the school for about a year and a half. So I'm learning a lot. So I'm trying to provide that information, that content to other teachers out there that may be struggling with supporting our special education needs students, especially in mainstream. Our students get lost, unfortunately, because of the large class sizes, and our teachers may not have the tools that they need to support them effectively. I mean, comparing myself from when I was a mainstream teacher to now, the big difference. The things I'm learning now I've never thought of when I was a mainstream teacher, didn't even cross my mind. Whereas now that I've worked with my SEN students and I'm working with colleagues who've worked in SEN for years, I'm learning a lot from them in terms of the triggers and how to self-regulate and support my students in lessons and the best strategies to help them learn. So it is a big learning curve. It is 100%. So as much as I can learn as possible and try and deliver that to teachers globally and try and help them as well, the better the teacher profession will be.
Love it. So how does that look? I know you have basically two vehicles that you do. You have the Tim's Teaching Tips, which is the membership site, and then you have Helping Teachers to Thrive, which is your podcast. So how does that look? Do you provide, does the membership site go more in depth than your podcast? Is that how it works?
Yes, so my podcast provides snippets in terms of advice and guidance and support for teachers. So episodes are around 10, 15, 20 minutes long. And then my membership site, it delves more deeper into different strategies and effective strategies that teachers can use in the classroom to help them in their profession and enhance their chances of progression. So I've got hours worth of content on my membership site. So that Helping Teachers Thrive, just the snippets that teachers can listen to on the drive to work, for example, or in the mornings, just to give them that little bit of advice to help support them throughout the day.
Awesome. Love that. So you're in a different country, right? I'm in the United States. You're in London. Like, what are the differences, if any, between a student, for example, that's receiving special education services in the United States versus a student that's receiving special education services in a country like London. I'm sorry, like England.
England, yes, right. So in terms of special education needs here, we have class sizes are small, about 12 in a class. We have TAs, 3 to 48 teaching assistants in the class to support our students. Our students all have educational healthcare plans, which talks about their strengths and needs in terms of education, as well as their health in terms of their medical needs and what sort of support we can provide our students. And each of our students have provision plan targets. They have targets based on their communication, social emotional health, their physical targets and cognition targets. So we set targets for our students based on maths and English, as well as their physical needs, whether it's being able to, for example, button up a shirt, for example, or being able to cross road effectively and carefully, and being able to perceive danger, those sorts of things, as well as their social and emotional needs. So being able to play a game, for example, with a peer, and being able to help them develop those speaking and listening, those communication skills that will hopefully help them become independent enough to be able to leave school and lead an independent life.
Love it. Yeah. So it sounds like it's the same, right? Like, there might be different terms that we use. Like you said, y'all have like an education healthcare plan.
EHCP.
Yeah. Okay. And we have an IEP, right? It's the individual education plan. So, they're all, it sounds like it's the same basic framework, but maybe just different terminology in terms of how we support the students. But yeah, what you just described is exactly how they do it in the United States. And I always like to compare. I like to always compare how systems work in other countries. And full disclosure, I used to work in another country. So very, interested in that. And thank you for sharing that. Have you found that to be in any way, shape or form? Because like you said, you work with teachers all over the world. Has that been a barrier or, something that has kind of hindered the ability to help someone simply because they've been in another country? Or have you found a lot more similarities than differences?
I think I found a lot more similarities, especially in terms of the routines and having high expectations in the class and setting rules and managing your classroom. Because there are a lot of teachers out there struggling with the behavior issues and lessons and the class sizes. So in terms of that, I found quite a lot of similarities to help in terms of supporting teachers. So that's something that's worldwide that I think a lot of us are struggling with in terms of developing those routines and embedding them consistently and being able to perform, as you will, on a daily basis and not feel exhausted and overwhelmed. So, and especially the workload as well is another thing that I find is quite similar from country to country. Though, of course, there are other countries that their work-life balance is much better than we have here in the UK. But then there are also some people that are struggling with their work-life balance because they feel overwhelmed with the amount of administration tasks that they have to do aside from their teaching. So yeah, there are things that I found similar from country to country when I've been speaking to other teachers and being involved in those Facebook groups online.
Yeah. I noticed that like in different countries, even in different, states here in the United States, like there's such a difference in pay disparity. Is that an issue as well in London, where in in England, where some parts of the country, maybe the teachers are paid better, other parts they're not, and that can create imbalance and, inequity?
100%, yes. So if you are within the London or in a London fringe, then you do get paid more because of the cost of living is higher in London. So teachers get paid higher in London. So as you move further out from London, the pay does decrease for teachers because of the cost of living. It's not doesn't affect people as much in those areas, although the cost of living is still quite high in the UK. But certain areas, the cost is a lot, in terms of living, the costs are a lot more higher. So they are offered those higher paychecks, as you will, whereas other areas may be a bit lower. If you go out of London, you experience the lower paychecks, unfortunately, as a result.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of teachers that are probably watching us right now, and they're probably saying, hey, you know what? I need this support. Like, what would you say to teachers that might be struggling or might be even thinking about leaving the profession in terms of how you can help support them?
Seek help. Look for help. Look for people to support you. whether it's a mentor or your colleagues, don't give up, because in the teaching profession, we are micromanaged. We are judged on a daily basis. It's really important to believe in yourself and believe in your own capabilities and always look to improve, because we are our greatest resource. We have colleagues around us that have planned lessons a certain way, or produce resources a certain way, or deliver lessons and deliver specific strategies that have helped them with their students. So always look for those support mechanisms, look for those that create that support network around you, and look for those teachers that look for the collaboration. And that's kind of why I started helping teachers thrive, because there are a lot of teachers that are lonely, that are on their own, that don't have big departments, that may be struggling because their mentor is busy, and that's not their fault. They've got pressures from above themselves, and they may not have colleagues around them. That's part of the reason why I did start helping teachers thrive, to support those teachers out there that are feeling lonely, that feel like they're on their own, that maybe feeling like, is this for me? I can't do this. When there are people out there that can help you, that progress and improve, and there are people there to support you. So it's just about helping teachers globally feel like we are a unit. We are here to support each other, and we can all provide each other with advice and guidance and effective strategies to help each other thrive, and feel like we're not in the profession on our own.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'll make sure that we put all of your contact information in the show notes, so that anyone that is watching that wants to reach out to you for support, they can get it.
Thank you.
All right. So moving right along, I mean, you've been in this profession 14 years. I mean, if, let's say hypothetically, we didn't talk for the next 5 years, where is Tem in 2029?
Wow, 2029. We've just come into 2024. I would love to be in a leadership role.
Okay.
So I would definitely love to be in a leadership role. I turned down a leadership role last year because I wanted to develop my experience in SEN a bit more, and special education needs a bit more, because that's the area that I sort of could see myself potentially thriving in, and developing our knowledge in, and helping, supporting children that are more vulnerable. So I am definitely looking for a leadership opportunity. So whether it's a subject lead, or an assistant principal or vice principal role in my current school, or a phase leader, we call them in my current school, or some sort of role in another special education needs school, maybe going more into the PE element and going back to my roots a little bit, but still staying with the special educational needs students. Yeah.
Love it. Are you going to be Dr. Ezimokhai?
Maybe one day, yes, go back to my PhD.
There you go.
Never say never.
Why not? 2029, that's 5 years from now. You know, I always tell people, you know, sometimes people say, oh, well, that's 5 years from now, you know, and I don't know. And I'm like, well, look, if you're living and breathing, those 5 years are going to pass whether you do it or not, right? So
100%, yeah, 100% it will do.
So anyway, that's really cool. I would love to keep up with you on that. I have my EDD, but I'm actually finishing up my PhD. So I'll have 2 doctorate degrees here in the next year or so.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and I did that strategically and intentionally, because with a PhD, at least in the United States and maybe in the UK, it's more recognized at the college level, the PhD. And so, yeah, and just in case I want to kind of pivot and go on that path, the college path, I want to have that PhD in my back pocket. So yeah, it's definitely doable. Wow. A lot of work, but it's definitely doable for sure.
Life's all about learning, isn't it? You don't stop learning when you leave school. It's lifelong. So
absolutely,
100% keep pushing forwards.
No, you're right, Tim. And that's my motto. Like, I'm a lifelong learner, and I feel like whether I was 30 or whether I'm 50 or whether in my current age 55, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still getting better. I still have a lot to learn. Like, I've been in this profession almost 30 years, but I still feel like, you know, I still have a lot to learn, and I still can do a lot of growing in this profession. And that's the beauty of this profession. And there's so many different avenues, you know, whether we're talking about special education or leadership, or just so many different areas where you can make an impact in K-12 education. And I'll be honest, the reason why I started this podcast, this video podcast, if you will, is because I feel like we are the greatest profession in the world. We're the profession that makes all other professions possible. So I just want to take this moment, Tim, to honor you for the 14 plus years that you have given to this amazing profession, and for the countless lives that you have impacted since you've been in this profession, and for the countless lives that you're going to impact in your future. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. Right back at you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, before we leave, like I said, there's a lot of people out there that are watching us and they're hearing all the great things that are going on with you and, England. And now they're saying, oh, okay, there are resources out there, and this is a person that could even provide resources for me. Would you please share some parting words of wisdom with our viewers and our listeners? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Fantastic. Never give up. Never, ever give up. Doesn't matter how hard it gets. There's always help out there. There's always someone out there that will support you and guide you and help you. There's always things out there that will make things easier. So always believe in yourself and never give up is probably the biggest bit of advice I can give. And because it can be difficult. It can be a difficult profession, but it is unbelievably rewarding, especially when you see your students light up when they suddenly realize when they've learned something that they thought they could never achieve. And when your students come back to you years later and go, oh, Miss Sal, thank you so much. I've done this as a result of you. So don't ever give up, because there's always somebody out there that will support you and help you. And if you need that support and guidance and you'd like to come and join me on my podcast, and just search for Helping Teachers Thrive on any of the podcast platforms. You can also connect with me on any of the social media platforms. So Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram. If you search for Tem's Teaching Tips. And I've also got links to my membership site on my podcast episodes for Tem's Teaching Tips. If you'd like to join my membership site and access hours worth of content there to support you and help you thrive in your teaching career.
Love it. You heard it right from Tem. Tem's teaching tip: never give up. Love that. Never give up. And I really, that really resonates with me. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This definitely won't be the last time that we'll communicate and talk, and definitely would love to come on your podcast. And I just can see that there's greatness within you, Tem, and the future is bright.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Williams. I really appreciate it. Thank you.